Welcome to our YouTube channel, The Alien Tales, and please ensure that you have subscribed.
The dying alien child taught me how to heal hearts across species. She had weeks to live, but spent them showing me that love transcends biology. Now I carry her gift to every world that needs it. Dr. Elena Voss pressed her palm against the observation window, watching the alien child curl deeper into the medical bay's corner. The girl, if she could be called that, possessed translucent blue skin that pulsed with bioluminescent veins, creating patterns like living constellations across her frail form. Her oversized eyes, violet with flecks of silver, tracked Elena's every movement with the wariness of a wounded animal. The medical scans confirm our worst fears, Elena's colleague, Dr. James Hartford, said behind her. The cellular degradation is accelerating. Her people call it the dimming, when their bioenergy simply fades. We estimate 3 weeks, maybe 4 if we're lucky. Elena had spent 15 years as a xenobiologist aboard the research vessel Meridian, but nothing had prepared her for this. The child, named Lyralei according to the translation matrix, was the sole survivor of a transport ship that had malfunctioned near their sector. Her species, the Vortak, were notoriously reclusive, and this was humanity's first direct contact with one of their young. Has she spoken? Elena asked, noting how Lyralei's luminescent patterns flickered whenever voices rose. Not a word. She responds to basic gestures but seems terrified of any medical equipment. James pulled up holographic displays showing failed attempts at treatment. Her physiology is unlike anything we've encountered. Our medicine might as well be poison to her. Elena watched Lyralei trace symbols in the air with her fingertip, leaving brief trails of light. There was something hauntingly beautiful about her movements, like she was painting with starlight itself. Despite her fear, the child's actions held a grace that spoke of deep intelligence and perhaps, Elena realized with a catch in her throat, profound loneliness. I want to try a different approach, Elena said, already reaching for the door controls. Elena entered the medical bay slowly, her hands visible and empty. Lyralei's bioluminescent patterns immediately shifted to deep purples and crimsons, colors Elena had learned indicated distress in Vortak physiology. The child pressed herself further into the corner, her breathing creating soft harmonic tones that resonated through the room. Hello, Lyralei, Elena said softly, settling cross-legged on the floor several feet away. I'm Elena. I'm not here to hurt you. The child's large eyes studied her intently. Elena noticed how Lyralei's light patterns seemed to mirror her emotional state. When Elena smiled, warmer golds appeared amid the fearful purples. It was like watching someone's soul made visible. Elena began to hum a simple melody her grandmother had sung to her as a child. The effect was immediate and startling. Lyralei's breathing harmonics shifted, creating an ethereal counterpoint to Elena's human tune. The child's bioluminescence bloomed into soft blues and greens, patterns that somehow conveyed curiosity rather than fear. Encouraged, Elena continued the lullaby, watching in amazement as Lyralei slowly uncurled from her defensive position. The alien child's head tilted, studying Elena with what appeared to be fascination rather than terror. When the song ended, Lyralei made a gesture with her hands, a graceful flowing motion that left trails of golden light in the air. Then, to Elena's surprise, she attempted to mimic Elena's sitting position, though her alien anatomy made it awkward. You understand music, Elena whispered, wonder coloring her voice. Music is universal, isn't it? Lyralei's response came not in words, but in a cascade of brilliant colors across her skin, a light show that seemed to pulse with joy. For the first time since her rescue, the dying child appeared to smile, a subtle shift in her bioluminescent patterns that made Elena's heart ache with its beauty. Over the following days, Elena spent every free moment with Lyralei, slowly deciphering the complex language of her bioluminescence. Each emotion, each thought, painted itself across the child's skin in intricate patterns that shifted like living art. Elena began to understand that Vortak communication was not merely visual but deeply empathic. Their light patterns could convey not just meaning but the emotional essence behind it. She's teaching you, James observed during one of their evening briefings. Look at your notes from today versus yesterday. The complexity of communication is increasing exponentially. Elena nodded, reviewing her datapad. She's incredibly intelligent. Her people don't just communicate through light, they share actual emotional experiences. When she shows me happiness, I feel an echo of it in my chest. When she expresses loneliness, it's like a physical ache. The breakthrough came when Lyralei began creating more complex light sculptures, weaving intricate patterns that told stories. Elena watched, mesmerized, as the child painted scenes of her homeworld in the air. Vast crystalline cities that grew like living organisms, skies that shifted through spectrum rainbows, beings of light dancing in harmony with their environment. But the most profound moment came when Lyralei created a pattern Elena recognized as herself. The child had somehow captured Elena's essence in light, her curiosity, her compassion, her deep loneliness that mirrored Lyralei's own. It was a portrait painted not in pigments but in pure emotion, showing Elena aspects of herself she'd never acknowledged. "This is extraordinary," Elena breathed, reaching out toward the light pattern. Her fingers passed through it, but she swore she could feel warmth, kindness, and something that felt remarkably like love. Lyralei's response was a gentle pulse of golden light, and Elena finally understood what the child had been trying to tell her all along. Despite their different biology, their hearts beat with the same fundamental need for connection. Elena discovered that Lyralei could do more than create light patterns. She could share actual memories through touch. It happened accidentally when Elena reached out to comfort the child during a particularly painful medical scan. The moment their skin made contact, Elena's mind filled with visions that weren't her own. She saw Lyralei's homeworld Vortak Prime through the child's eyes. The planet was nothing like Earth. Vast crystal spires that sang in harmonious frequencies, skies that shifted color with the collective emotions of the inhabitants, and beings who communicated through the same living light that pulsed through Lyralei's veins. But most remarkably, she saw Lyralei's family. The child's parents were magnificent beings of light and grace, their bioluminescence creating complex patterns of love and protection around their young daughter. Elena felt their joy when Lyralei first learned to paint with light, their pride when she showed exceptional empathic abilities, and their devastating grief when they realized she was beginning to dim. "They loved you so much," Elena whispered, tears streaming down her face as the memory faded. "They would have done anything to save you." Lyralei's response was a wave of sadness so profound that Elena felt it like a physical weight in her chest. But within that sadness was something else. Acceptance, and a strange kind of peace that Elena didn't understand until Lyralei shared another memory. This one showed Elena herself, but from Lyralei's perspective. Elena watched in amazement as the child revealed how she perceived humans, not as the awkward, limited beings Elena often felt they were, but as creatures of remarkable depth and unexpected beauty. Through Lyralei's eyes, Elena saw her own capacity for love, her stubborn determination to help, and most surprisingly, her own light. Not bioluminescent like Lyralei's, but a warm, steady glow that the child found comforting. "You see beauty in me," Elena realized, "even though I'm so different from your kind." Lyralei's affirmative pulse of light was gentle but certain, and Elena understood that the child was teaching her something profound about the nature of love itself. Dr. Hartford's voice was grim as he delivered the latest medical reports. "The cellular degradation is accelerating faster than our models predicted. She has days, not weeks. Her bioenergy readings are dropping exponentially." Elena sat beside Lyralei's bed, watching the child's bioluminescence grow dimmer with each passing hour. What had once been brilliant cascades of color were now gentle flickers, like dying embers. Yet somehow, Lyralei seemed more at peace than afraid. "Why aren't you fighting this?" Elena asked, her voice breaking. "Why do you seem so accepting?" Lyralei's response came through their shared touch, a complex memory that showed Elena the Vortak understanding of death. For her people, the dimming wasn't an ending but a transformation, a return to the cosmic light from which all consciousness originated. Death was viewed not as loss but as graduation to a higher form of existence. But the memory revealed something else that made Elena's breath catch. Lyralei wasn't just accepting her death. She was grateful for these final weeks. Through their connection, Elena felt the child's joy at having found someone who could truly see her, someone who had learned to love beyond the boundaries of species. You're not afraid because you've found what you were looking for, Elena realized. Connection, understanding, love that transcends biology. Lyralei's confirmation was a gentle warmth that spread through Elena's chest. The child then showed her another memory, a vision of Elena carrying Lyralei's gift to other worlds, other species, bridging the gaps between different forms of consciousness with the empathy she had learned. You want me to continue your work, Elena whispered, to help others find this connection. As Lyralei's light pulsed once in agreement, Elena finally understood that the child wasn't just dying. She was passing on a legacy. She was teaching Elena to see love not as a human emotion but as a universal force that could unite all conscious beings, regardless of their physical form. With Lyralei's condition deteriorating rapidly, Elena barely left her side. The child's bioluminescence had dimmed to barely perceptible flickers, but her consciousness remained sharp and focused. It was during one of these quiet moments that Lyralei revealed her greatest gift. Through their touch connection, the child began to show Elena something extraordinary. Not a memory, but a skill. Lyralei was teaching her how to perceive the emotional resonance of other beings, to see beyond physical appearance to the light that existed within all conscious creatures. This is how we truly see. Lyralei's thought flowed into Elena's mind, not with eyes, but with hearts. Every being carries light, even those who cannot show it as we do. Elena gasped as her perception suddenly expanded. She could sense the emotional states of everyone on the ship, James's grief over Lyralei's condition, Captain Rodriguez's worry about their mission timeline, even the complex emotional patterns of the ship's AI system. But more than that, she could see the fundamental loneliness that existed in all of them, the deep desire for connection that every conscious being carried. It's like emotional sight, Elena marveled. You're showing me how to see souls. Lyralei's response was tinged with urgency. She began rapidly sharing techniques. How to project comfort to ease another's pain. How to build bridges of understanding between disparate minds. How to heal the wounds that prevented beings from connecting with each other. This is your gift to the universe, Elena realized. Your species doesn't just communicate through light, you're natural healers of the heart. You help others overcome the barriers that keep them isolated. As Lyralei transferred more of her abilities, Elena felt herself changing at a fundamental level. She was becoming something new, still human, but enhanced with an alien perspective that allowed her to see the universal nature of love and connection. I understand now, Elena whispered. You're not dying. You're becoming part of me, part of the work I'll do. Your light will continue to shine through everything I touch. Lyralei's final hours were spent in a state Elena could only describe as transcendent serenity. The child's physical form had become almost transparent, her bioluminescence reduced to the faintest shimmer, but her consciousness burned brighter than ever through their connection. There is something more I must show you, Lyralei's thoughts whispered in Elena's mind, carrying an urgency that made Elena's heart race. The memory that followed was unlike any other. It was a vision of the future, showing Elena the path she was meant to walk. She saw herself traveling between worlds, using Lyralei's gift to heal the wounds between species that had never been able to understand each other. She saw wars ended not through force but through the deep empathy that allowed beings to truly see each other's hearts. This is why I found you, Lyralei explained. Not by chance but by design. The universe itself guided us together because you have the capacity to carry this gift across the stars. Elena watched in wonder as the vision expanded, showing her a network of beings across the galaxy who had been touched by her work. Alien species learning to connect despite their differences, children of different worlds playing together in harmony, the barriers between civilizations dissolving as understanding grew. But how can I do this alone? Elena asked, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what Lyralei was showing her. The child's response filled Elena with warmth. You will never be alone. I will always be with you, part of your consciousness now. And others will join you. Beings from every world who understand that love is not limited by the shape of one's body or the color of one's blood. As Lyralei began to share the final technique, how to pass the gift to others, creating a chain of empathic healers across the universe. Elena felt the profound weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. But with it came an equally profound sense of purpose. "Thank you," Elena whispered, tears flowing freely. "Thank you for showing me what I was meant to become." As Lyralei's physical form began to fade, something extraordinary happened. Rather than simply dying, the child seemed to be dissolving into pure light. Not the bioluminescence that had marked her species, but something far more fundamental, the very essence of consciousness itself. Elena felt Lyralei's presence merging with her own, not as an invasion but as a gentle integration. The alien child's memories, emotions, and abilities became part of Elena's consciousness, expanding her awareness beyond anything she had thought possible. "I can feel everyone," Elena gasped, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of sensations. Through her new perception, she could sense the emotional states of every being within miles. Their hopes, fears, joys, and sorrows painting a complex tapestry of conscious experience. But more than that, she could feel the connections between them, the invisible threads of empathy and understanding that linked all conscious beings, regardless of their physical form. She saw how fear and misunderstanding created barriers between species, and how those barriers could be dissolved through the patient application of genuine empathy. "This is what you wanted me to understand," Elena whispered to Lyralei's fading presence. "We're all connected. Every conscious being in the universe shares the same fundamental desire for love and understanding." As the child's physical form finally dissolved completely, Elena felt a profound shift in her own being. She was still human, but she was also something more. A bridge between worlds, a translator of hearts, someone who could help beings overcome the limitations of their own perspectives. James burst into the room, alerted by the medical monitors that had gone silent. "Elena, what happened? Where is she?" Elena turned to face him, and James stepped back in shock. Elena's eyes now held flecks of the same silver that had marked Lyralei's gaze, and there was something in her expression that seemed to see beyond the surface of things. "She's not gone," Elena said softly. "She's just beginning her real work." 3 months after Lyralei's transformation, Elena found herself on Kepler Station, mediating what had been called an impossible diplomatic crisis. The Andromedan Trade Federation and the Centauri Collective had been on the brink of war over a misunderstanding that seemed trivial to outsiders but carried deep cultural significance for both species. "They're too different," Ambassador Martinez explained as they walked toward the conference room. "The Andromedans communicate through pheromone releases that the Centaurians find offensive, while the Centaurians' telepathic probing feels invasive to Andromedan culture. Every attempt at negotiation has only made things worse." Elena nodded, feeling the familiar tingle of her enhanced perception as they approached the warring delegates. Through Lyralei's gift, she could sense the deep frustration and hurt on both sides. The Andromedans' genuine confusion at being misunderstood, the Centaurians' wounded pride at being called invaders when they were simply trying to understand. As Elena entered the conference room, she let her awareness expand, touching the minds of both delegations with the gentlest of mental caresses. Immediately, she could feel their defenses beginning to lower as they sensed her genuine desire to understand rather than judge. "Before we continue," Elena said, her voice carrying undertones that seemed to resonate with beings of all species present, "I'd like each delegation to share not what they want, but what they fear. What are you afraid will happen if this conflict continues?" The question, simple as it was, cut through layers of diplomatic posturing. The Andromedan representative's pheromone release shifted to patterns that Elena recognized as vulnerability, while the Centaurian delegate's telepathic emanations softened with genuine concern. For the first time, both species began to see each other not as obstacles to be overcome but as fellow conscious beings struggling with the same fundamental fears: the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of being rejected, the fear of being alone in a vast and often hostile universe. As understanding began to bloom between the delegations, Elena felt Lyralei's presence like a warm glow in her consciousness, approving of how the child's gift was being used to heal rather than harm. Years had passed since Lyralei's death, and Elena's reputation as a diplomatic miracle worker had spread across known space. She stood now on the observation deck of her ship, the Harmony, watching a most extraordinary sight: representatives from 12 different species working together to construct a new kind of space station. one designed not for any single species but as a meeting place where all conscious beings could interact safely and comfortably. The Lyralei Memorial Station, Captain Rodriguez said, joining Elena at the viewport. Named after the alien child who started all this. Do you think she would have approved? Elena smiled, feeling the familiar warm presence that had never truly left her consciousness. She would have been amazed to see how far her gift has spread. Through her enhanced perception, Elena could sense the emotional states of all the workers outside. Beings from species that had been enemies for generations now laboring side by side, their differences becoming strengths rather than barriers. The station itself was a testament to what was possible when beings truly understood each other. The best part, Elena said, is that I'm not the only one carrying her gift anymore. She gestured to a group of young beings from various species who were training in the empathic arts, the next generation of bridge builders who would carry Lyralei's legacy to even more distant corners of the galaxy. Among them was a young human woman whose eyes held the same silver flecks that marked Elena's gaze, a Vortak youth whose bioluminescence had taken on new patterns never seen before, and even an artificial intelligence that had somehow developed its own form of empathic awareness. Love really does transcend biology, Elena murmured, remembering Lyralei's first lesson. It transcends everything that seems to divide us. As if in response to her thoughts, Elena felt a familiar pulse of warmth, not from her own consciousness, but from all the beings who now carried fragments of Lyralei's gift. The alien child who had died to teach Elena about love was now living on in thousands of hearts across the galaxy. Her light multiplied rather than diminished by her physical death. Elena pressed her hand against the viewport, watching the construction continue, knowing that this was only the beginning of what Lyralei's gift would accomplish in the vast universe that awaited them.